Guys, welcome. Good to be with you. Tony Katz. The name of the show is Tony Katz Today. That from Crowned Heads is the La Carême. And the watch today is the Tudor Advisor. But are there some things happening on the watch front that I am supposed to happen this week? I think it is. I think everything's done except the signing. Cannot wait to share with you. Show's about to begin. Glad you guys are here. Tell your friends. Tell them to get into the chat room. Tell them to tell the ones they love, and let us enjoy. Thank you.
Saying he is enacting a 50% tariff on steel and aluminum from Canada, which will go into effect tomorrow in response to your actions. What's your reaction?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I start every interview with saying we love Americans. I love Americans, spent 20 years of my life there. And I know Canadians love Americans and vice versa. In saying that, we will not back down. We will be relentless. I apologize to the American people that President Trump decided to have an unprovoked attack on our country, on families, on jobs, and it's unacceptable. Let's work.
I must tell you that it might work in Canadian politics, but it's really having no effect on Trump whatsoever. This is because the premier of Ottawa has said we're going to put a tariff on electricity. As a matter of fact, we're going to cut off electricity that goes to the United States. And Trump's point is, what the hell are we doing getting electricity from Canada? What's wrong with us? Are we insane? And Canada is now going to threaten electricity? Now, that's a weird position for Trump to have to be in, to say, how dare the Canadians, when the Canadians are saying, how dare you? Trump's argument is fentanyl. And the Canadians, admittedly, have not offered a good response to it. Yes, I oppose blanket tariffs. I oppose this silliness. But I said to you yesterday that Trump clearly is trying to put forth a political theory, an economic theory here. I think it's a little disjointed. I had to do the work in putting it together. But I believe that the argument before us is that if the plan is to compete with China long term, one has to bring the businesses to the United States long term. The only way to bring the businesses to the United States long term is to give a reason for people to be here. It has to be a better economic climate, a better business climate. What could be a better way than the idea, the concept of these tariffs? The Agriculture Secretary, Brooke Rollins, was on Fox Business.
And to you, I want to get your take on this tariff conversation because it certainly has stoked fear among some business people and markets, investors. Yesterday, big sell-off in stocks. How do you expect tariffs to impact American farmers?
Well, first of all, Maria, I think it is no question that the president from minute one has believed so strongly, and the American people agreed with him, that tariffs are a very important part of his toolkit for him to be able to truly make America great again, including American farmers great again. He is going to be making some big, bold, fearless moves, and that's what we see him doing right now. But I would like to also say, Maria, I know you know this well as also, that no one has the farmers back more than President Trump. And while he has been very clear that for the short term, it may be slightly bumpy, that for the long term, that this group of people, that are farmers and our ranchers, but also all of Americans, we are reaching and moving into a new golden age in American prosperity, and that those in our country that work hard and dream big and believe in the vision that this is a new era of prosperity for everyone. So
what did we say? Trump just had to explain what it is he's doing and what is it that it's going to mean. And it's going to mean some short-term pain. It means prices will be higher for the short term. And here's what we get in the long term. We said it here. We said it before anybody. Well, everybody was being tribal. We were being honest about what we were seeing. And what are we now seeing? We're seeing them explain it. Yes, it's going to be a bumpy road. Yes, in order to bring business here, we're utilizing tariffs as a tool to convince companies to come here, because when they build here, they won't have to have the tariffs. They'll be able to sell more product. And once they're here, they're not really going to move to other places. That's better for the United States long term. We caught this in this conversation about China, that China thinks about 100 years and we think about a quarter. Oh, what were the quarterly results? We got to have good quarterly results. Let's get the next good quarterly results. What about a long-term vision? First time I saw Trump actually play that out, but he did it in this very disjointed way. Now we're starting to see more of that messaging happen. Good. Because it will take time. It absolutely will take time. And certainly you're going to have to go up against people who are desperate in their lives. This from Jonathan Lemire over there at MSNBC. This is flat out obscene to make the statement that coming in to this White House, Trump had a perfect economy.
Yeah, and this is all, let's be clear, his doing.
Yeah.
He inherited a strong economy. It's his decisions that have led us to this moment. White House officials still publicly confident, publicly boasting, but there is, for the first time, some private anxiety about where this is going. We'll have more on that.
Yeah, you have more on that. Let's talk more about the nonsense of somehow this economy was in a good place. It wasn't in a good place. That's not true. The dishonesty is standard operating procedure. Why don't people trust you, Jonathan Lemire? That's why. Why should they? Why should they trust Morning Joe? Why should they trust MSNBC? To the extent that anybody's even watching that nonsense, it wasn't good. We make the argument that the president should be more clear about what is ahead, about what the tariffs do, and about short-term pain for a long-term goal. I believe in the clarity. Force them to have your discussion. Don't allow them to have theirs. And in the same place, let us not forget what it is they told us, which is what? Inflation was transitory. These lying, despicable frauds. Inflation is transitory? Oh, hell no. Inflation, 4 years later, here to stay. And that hasn't dissipated. We're seeing egg prices go down according to some charts. Now, as a matter of anecdotal, the number I had heard was $8. We're seeing egg prices at $8 a dozen. My wife just did some shopping. Yes, I do shopping too. Settle down. I'm a man of today. Send the wife out to do the shopping. Well, she didn't have to darn the socks anymore. I just bought new ones. So she had some free time. God, they're going to be emails. If you want to send an email about what I just said and you find it objectionable, send that to benshapiro@yahoo.com. I don't know if that's Ben's email or not, but someone's about to get an email. The eggs were $6.15, $6.15 a dozen. So that does comport with what we're hearing, some numbers that how egg prices are down. We're also seeing gas prices down. It could be for a series of reasons. Maybe eggs have gotten to a cost where people are like, I can't afford eggs. I'm not buying eggs. And therefore the demand is down, so the price comes down. That could be possible. We'll see how this kind of plays out. We want things to get better. The inflation is not better. The debt load is not better. But this idea that Trump inherited a great economy is nonsense. The idea that Trump has put the tariffs on, and tariffs are taxes and means things will cost more, that is true. This back and forth between President Trump and, it's the Ontario Premier, Doug Ford, and this 25% surcharge on electricity exports. and Trump calling Canada a tariff abuser, and now they're doing reciprocal. This isn't fun. And for Mark Carney, the new prime minister, this can't be something that you enjoy. But he came into office yesterday and said very clearly, we're going to keep the tariffs on. And who does America think they are? And all. Let the fight continue. But don't let anybody tell you that everything was perfect and then in less than 50 days, it's all over. I will note that when the market is down 1,000 points, when the market is down 700 points, and it's down day after day for a few days, it absolutely affects your 401k. Does anybody question this? Of course it affects your 401k. And things were looking up. The Dow futures were up this morning. Okay, everybody's calmed down. Now you've got this, and you're seeing the Dow down. I think at one point it was down 500 today. Yeah, it's going to have a real effect on markets. That's now. We saw during the Biden administration, the market go down 1,000 points a day. Happened a couple times. We come back. There is a real panic. And the panic is political. And I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in honestly addressing the situation, and you are too, because it's your financial future. Tariffs or taxes, and right now, it's bumpy. The Trump team is finally discussing that it is bumpy. They should have come out earlier on that one. But the political left is going to tell you everything was great until Trump got here, as if somehow they can make you forget what happened. That gaslighting horse crap cannot be left to stand. And we have to be the ones, whether it's talk radio or you and your social media feed, to say, this is nutty. These people are frauds, because they are. They're frauds. They're liars. And we shouldn't be lied to. And by the way, Canada was getting the better part of a trade deal, and that wasn't necessary. They can do better. Do I think it needs all these tariffs? Nope. Do I think they need to do a better job in protecting the border, especially regarding Chinese nationals coming through the Swanton sector there in Vermont? Yes. Is the tariff conversation without merit? No. Are blanket tariffs ridiculous? Yes. Do reciprocal tariffs make sense? Yes. Should Canada be moving heaven and earth to create a better deal with the United States? Yes. Are they so ridiculously obstinate they can't do what's best for their nation, rather engage the suffering so they can look cool? Absolutely. Do I want Canada to be the 51st state? God, no. Do I want poutine? Absolutely. French fries with stuff is delicious. I mean, that's what poutine is. It's basically, growing up in Jersey, we had fries with gravy. I didn't know that was basically like a poutine light. Give me cheese and then throw in some other stuff. It's a poutine is like the sundae of French fries, right? What a fudge, and there's a sprinkle, or some people call it a Jimmy, and then there's nuts, and then there's whipped cream, right? That's basically poutine. Poutine's delicious. Take their poutine, leave the Canadians. That is my take. Honesty wins the day. And you ain't going to get that from anybody in mainstream media on what this economic situation is. It's going to be bumpy. The objective is something far greater. And I'm at least willing to see how it plays out in the short term. Take a breath, everybody. Take a breath. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Beautiful, 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 beautiful. Beautiful. Good to see everybody. The cigar is the La Carême. Who was asking that? Derek? I always announce before. This is from Crowned Heads, right? So this is, I would say, one of the more simple sticks. I think they do some excellent work. I am first of all, John Huber, I think is a mensch of a dude. Such a good guy. Oh, and his watch, a choice Cartier. The 4 Kicks, the limited edition, is out for 2025. The Las Calaveras 10-year is wonderful, but he has a cigar, the Le Patissier. Also, the Pie Synesthesia. Yeah, I know. That's right. Nice smoke. But the Le Patissier, he had put that out. And he tells the story that just it didn't sell, and so he's changed some vitolas, some shapes of that cigar, and you're seeing more and more of it. But he has I don't know, would he call it a torpedo or a bellicoso? Maybe call it a torpedo. I think that cigar is outstanding. Absolutely outstanding. The Le Patissier. Love it. Absolutely love it. He was kind enough to send me a box. And John, if you're watching, smoked them all. Smoked them all. You have my address. So that's what I'm smoking today. For me, this is just it's a nice, polite smoke. I don't know if it's an everydayer, but I have it every now and again. And I had one in the humidor. I'm like, I will go with that right there. So good to see you guys. Wanted to have that economics talk because people are just so ridiculous. They will say anything to get political victory. And I just want to know. I just want to know what the data is. What does the data tell us? What is the reality of the situation? That's all I want to know. And as a follow-up, I don't know what has happened over the last Sarah, maybe Sarah runs all our digital. The trolling that is coming my way over the last 2 weeks, producer Landon, Sarah, everybody. Oh my God. Like what happened? Like every now and then you're like, okay, I must have jumped in status because there's a whole new level of troll lately. Whoo, good Lord. I mean, the pay a shill paid by the billionaire class. I'm lazy. It's been a treat. It has been an absolute treat. Really something. Anyway, I'm still here. I'm still here. We've got a lot more to get to. Yeah, let them complain. Let them say their little things. It's absolutely meaningless. Absolutely, positively meaningless drivel. They don't control us. They don't decide for us. We move on, as we dang well should. All right, coming back to the show. Glad you guys are here.
Here's the bottom line. If congressional Democrats refuse to support this clean CR, they will be responsible for every troop who misses a paycheck, for every flight delay from reduced staffing at TSA, for every negative consequence that comes from shutting down the government. I understand they have an important retreat this week. Boy, I'd love to be a fly on the wall at that party. Comes at a critical time since they don't have a leader, a message, or a platform. And I'm just going to say this. If our Democrat colleagues want to increase their 21% approval rating with the American public, they ought to start by doing the right thing and keeping the government open. I think that'd be a great first step. So I'll take questions. Chad.
Speaker, good morning. You continually criticize the Democrats. Doesn't that imply that you don't have the votes on your side because you wouldn't need Democratic assistance to keep the government open?
No, we will have votes. We're going to pass the CR. We can do it on our own. But what I'm saying is Democrats ought to do the responsible thing.
Democrats will do the political thing. And if you're going to talk about the responsible thing and then have Thomas Massey not voting for the continuing resolution, Speaker Johnson, I think you've got yourself a messaging issue. And you walked yourself into it. Tony Katz today. Great to be with you. So Massey is not voting for the continuing resolution, the congressman out of Kentucky. Now, I have a love-hate with Massey because his position on Israel frustrates and confounds. I don't like some of the things that I have heard, but I am not coming out to say he's an anti-this or that. I actually want to talk to the man because I think much of what really moves him is purely economic. We spend too much. I don't want to spend in any of these places. Right? That to me is Thomas Massey. He's like throwing everything off the counter. I didn't order any of this. He's doing that. And so what he has said is, I'm not voting for this continuing resolution. You're out of your mind. This thing's terrible. This is way too much money. So Trump has come out to say, primary him. We're going to challenge him. We're going to primary this guy. Who do you think you are? We absolutely need this. You don't want to do this. Primary challenge. Let's go. To which Massey's like, I'm going to use this as a fundraising opportunity. You want to come after me? You're the one spending and you want to come after me? Challenge accepted, Donnie boy. And he's off to the races. This is where I think it matters. I think Massey has larger support than President Trump realizes. That is not to say that President Trump has less support. It's that Massey has large support. In the idea of lowering spending, Massey has large support because the people who voted for you, sir, want to see less spending. So why is Massey a bad guy for wanting the less spending? And you're already seeing people come out in favor. And you're also seeing people say, hey, listen, I voted for Trump. I want Trump to succeed. But honestly, I don't give a good holy damn about his personality. I want what I want. I fall into that category. I don't care about Trump's personality at all. Don't care about his ego. Don't care about accolades. It means nothing to me. I want what I want. And I will put up with a whole bunch of stuff if I get what I want. Right? If that's what it takes to be able to lower taxes and have a secure border, fine by me. You do you, man. You want to be cheered everywhere you go. You want to, no issue. Right? It's far more honest than anything Joe Biden ever presented. Never mind the people who are actually running the country for Joe Biden for at least 2 years, because he wasn't. But I want what I want. And if I'm not going to get what I want, I'm not giving any of the other thing. I don't owe anything to anybody. Let's remember, Trump works for me. He works for you. And so do your senators and so do your members of Congress. We don't work for them. And their egos are meaningless. Got to get what we got to get. Massey is talking about a reduction in spending. Overall. I don't know if I want to lecture a guy about that. I want to say we disagree about this thing. Let's work on this other thing. Here's where we can get these spending cuts. Hey, Tom, we can do this over here. We can do this over there. There's a whole argument that the cuts that they want can't go into this kind of legislation. It has to be a different kind of legislation. Representative Tim Burchett was discussing that on CNN. Maybe. But there are people who agree with Massey and agree with my take that we just want the less spending. We don't want to hear about the rest. Don't tell me why I have to do anything because your name is Trump. We wanted this. We really want this. This is what we're going to do. We're going to support people who really bring the less spending. So Massey has more support than I think Trump realizes. That does not mean Trump has any less support. So if he wants to go after this fight, he'll go after this fight. Can he succeed in a primary challenge? I don't know. I really don't. I'm not studied up enough on that district of Kentucky. But Trump's going to throw everything at it to try, which I think is a waste of time. This is Tony Katz today. Guys, welcome back to the show. Tony Katz, good to be with you. Let's see. What haven't we? Oh, green cards. Let us discuss the green cards. Also, I already have the video up. My conversation with William Jacobson, Cornell law professor, the mind behind legalinsurrection.com, because we had this conversation about the deportation. And there's a story here, and a worthwhile one for sure. So let me grab. Where in the world is that? I just saw it. Why can't I? That's super weird. I had this audio clip of from Speaker Johnson, and right now it's not showing up. I'm just searching for it, guys. I don't mean to not talk to you. Well, maybe I saw it on the Twittix. Maybe that was it. Okay, I'll do it without it. I got it. We're good to go. All right. Music is there. We're coming back to the show. Glad you guys are here. Let's do some stuff, shall we?
I was so scared that news outlets would take my admission into a mental health facility as a way to paint me and all trans people as psychos who belong in the loony bin.
It resulted in a lot of suicidal ideation and dissociation. I'm still battling with some of that guilt and that shame and that dysphoria that was projected onto me during that time. And that was a situation that I wouldn't have wished on my worst enemy now that I've lived through it.
Mulvaney says she never wanted to be an activist, but has found herself navigating a society that's not always supportive of trans rights.
On his first.
Dylan Mulvaney is a man. Why is that so hard for so many people? And went on The View, and it was nutty. And now in this interview with CBS, where he's being treated like somehow he's a hero.
First day in office, President Trump signed the order which recognized two sexes, male and female. When you heard that pronouncement, what did you think?
It didn't change any way that I think about myself, because I'm a woman no matter what my passport says.
No, you're not. No matter what your passport says, you're a man. You will die a man, and you have to learn to come to grips with that. You could say what you will, can't stop you from going down this road, but putting on a blouse does not make you a woman. Just doesn't, and it never will. And it is a lie to say otherwise, and it's a lie for other people to buy into it. Calling Dylan Mulvaney she is as despicable an act as one can think of. And when women do that, why they shame themselves and harm themselves and damage themselves and ridicule themselves and belittle themselves in this way, beyond comprehension. Did I say hello? Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com. We've got the White House press briefing today, so I definitely want to get to that later. But of course, the big story is of the green card. you have this guy, and there's a good write-up over at legalinsurrection.com. And there's a good write-up over at National Review, because Andy McCarthy is on it and engaging the data and his thought on what might happen. Here's the story. There is a Columbia graduate, Columbia University, home of bigotry, Columbia, NYU, USC, bigotry. And his name is Mahmoud Khalil, claims to be Palestinian. I don't know what he means. He is a lawful permanent resident, green card holder, lawful permanent resident. But he was leading and organizing the so-called protests at Columbia that were harassing Jewish students, attacking Jewish students, preventing Jewish students from being able to cross campus. At this moment, let us know two things. Being a lawful permanent resident is a far different thing than being here on a student visa. Being here on a student visa, whoop, gone. It's not even a debate. Green card lawful permanent resident could be a debate. Could be a debate. But even with that, preventing someone from walking across a campus or a field because of their religion, that doesn't fly in the United States. That's a jailable offense. You're not a protester. You're an abusive scumbag. Just so we understand each other. Just so we get it. He was arrested. And what Trump has said, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said, is that he is going to be deported. Now, can you deport somebody for this act when they're a lawful permanent resident? Well, this gets really interesting. What Andrew McCarthy references is not only federal immigration law in toto. He argues Section 1182 of federal immigration law. Section 1182 of federal immigration law states that the statute, or I should say that the statute targets aliens who have either, quote, engaged in terrorist activity or who are members of terrorist organizations or have received paramilitary training from terrorist organizations. And it also could include if you have endorsed or espoused terrorist activities. Now, one of the arguments being made is whether or not we have seen this guy engage in terrorist activities. Well, you're stopping people from crossing a campus. Is he connected to terrorist organizations? I wouldn't be able to know that. That would take an investigation. But if we're talking about support, well, everybody who claims to be pro-Palestinian is supportive of Hamas. Every single one of them. This is a conversation that really exists in the what the definition of the word is. Over there at MSNBC, they had this conversation with an NYU professor.
Does Marco Rubio have the power to revoke a person's green card or legal status?
So under the immigration laws, there are extreme circumstances where someone's status can be reconsidered if they are aligned with, for example, a terrorist organization or an organization that's been designated a terrorist organization. It is not the case here that Mr. Khalil.
We do not know that. What do you mean by aligned, Ms. Murray? She's an NYU law professor. What do we mean by aligned? It would seem to me if you're flying a Palestinian flag, you could very well be aligned. That's clearly what it says to me. Isn't that determination a determination of the Secretary of State or the president who decides all immigration policy? So can this person be kicked out of the country? It's a great question. I don't have the answer. I think that's a question for the courts. And I will share with you coming up my conversation with William Jacobson, legalinsurrection.com, Cornell law professor. But maybe the question is actually a cart before the horse question. Maybe the better question is, why was this guy ever allowed into the United States to begin with? I think that's a very, very good place to start. Who do we allow into the country? Why would we allow anybody who has any level of, well, you know, Hamas has a point? Why would we allow that into the country? Isn't it bad enough that we have Americans who say that kind of garbage, who support terrorists, who support the destruction and the murder of Jews? And then, of course, Christians. You'll notice how silent they are when Islamists in Syria are killing Christians and Alawites. Christians are getting slaughtered in Syria, and these so-called protesters don't have a thing to say because they don't give a damn. They support Hamas. They don't support Palestinians for whatever that's supposed to actually mean. Why do we let certain people into the country, and why don't we do more to stop it? Why don't we have more rigid enforcement? Why don't we have better rules? Why don't we ask better questions? Why are we handing out lawful permanent resident status like candy? And if you say to me, Tony, well, we don't really hand it out like candy. This guy got it. I would still argue it's like candy. Boo, 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 boo. It's Oprah. You get LPR. You get LPR. And it's like temporary protected status. This is different, but in terms of how it gets handed out. Why was he allowed into the country to begin with? We can have standards. We can have rules. And one of the rules is we don't allow people into the country who believe in the end of Western civilization. It's bad enough that we have Americans indoctrinated by ridiculous universities, dopey enough to actually believe there's a value there. Like they would survive for a second in whatever it is would take over. You think any of these lefties really survive in the communist utopia? Man, I only hope they like the gulag, because it's great when you have 17 guys to a cell. No, it's a lot of privacy. And no one ever invades your privacy. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Know what I mean? Say no more. But no, this is a free speech conversation, Tony. First of all, you're a xenophobe for not letting these people into the country. Screw that. But this is about free speech, and you're allowed free speech on a college campus. And what's happening is that you're not letting that happen. You don't think that that should be allowed. Well, is this really a free speech conversation? Is that what it is that we're looking at? Is this about free speech? I don't think that's what we're discussing here. Free speech does not involve stopping students from walking across a campus. It just doesn't. It never has. It doesn't involve physically impeding someone from being able to move. It doesn't involve intimidation. It doesn't involve harassment. It just doesn't. And then I caught Scott Jennings on CNN, who, by the way, isn't paid enough. Not paid enough for the level of ridiculousness he deals with on the campus, or there on the set of CNN, which is kind of like being on the campus, I guess. I mean, that was Freudian, but good. Good, Cats. Well done. Well played. And there is this guy on there. Well, let me take it from here.
Kids on these campuses is absolutely an act of insurrection against the United States.
I don't think anyone here is condoning anti-Semitism.
The irony of you saying that that's an act of insurrection against the United States.
Of course, he would love to see this government fall.
When this president just pardoned people,
yeah, let's take a step back. You guys have the same feeling about his organization as you do of like organizations like Proud Boys or anybody like that
that was involved in the January 6th insurrection and was
never condoned. Wait. Nobody at this table is condoning anti-Semitism. I think we need to take a step back and realize the implications of what the president has done.
The people who are saying that these you're allowed to stop Jews from crossing a campus are absolutely condoning anti-Semitism. 1,050%. They are condoning anti-Semitism. It's not a question. It's not a debate. They are doing what they are doing. And to say otherwise is flat out laughable. Laughable. And then you had this guy make the claim that, well, there were a lot of counter protests from Jews, and they were involved in acts of violence as well. Van Lathan is his name. Van Lathan. Allow me, if I may, if I could be so bold. I would give anything to see Jewish students fight back against these despicable lowlifes. I would give anything for Jews to gather 4,000, 5,000 a time at the campus of USC or UCLA or NYU or Columbia and walk right through this crowd. And if the crowd tries to stop them, start throwing punches until every one of them falls. I would give anything to see that happen from my people, my people. I would give anything to see Jews in America say, it's us or you, we choose us, and you're about to enter the FO part of FAFO. Here's how it goes down. No justice, no peace. Welcome to it. Give my soul to actually see Jews in America fight back. An obscene thought that, well, the Jews did it. Everybody knows what this is. Everybody sees what this is. And everybody sees that the progressive left absolutely defends it. I don't actually know if you could deport this guy. Legally, I don't have the answer. That's why we're going to talk to William Jacobson, Cornell law professor. We're going to see where this goes in the courts. But thinking that this guy is a freedom fighter, thinking that this is a free speech conversation, get bent. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. I wasn't yelling, producer Landon. All right. Yeah, okay. You know what? I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to move this. Hey, Sarah, you see this? This right here. We're gonna redo that, and we're gonna put it on the side. So on this side, we're gonna put it on the side like that. That's how it's gonna look. So we need those layouts. Boom. Because this way I could be like this, and then you'll see this, and there'll be a reason for that. Oh, coming up. Excited. Good to be with you. The question was I yelling? Right. There's a line between passionate and yelling. I was more imploring. I think that's it. It was more imploring than anything else. Anyway, good to be with you. Glad you guys are here. Tony Katz today. Have cigar. Will travel. It's a little uneven of a burn, but that happens sometimes when you're talking and you can't focus on it. Like in casual conversation, it's good because you're not always talking. You're certainly not going on a 15-minute bender. There's a lot to get to. I want to see if there was anything else that I missed in the audio. There's so much. And is she still on? I think yes. The White House Daily Briefing is still on. We're absolutely going to bring that to you. Bill Burr is not right on, Hal, and I just don't care if you think I'm wrong. I don't. What am I supposed to do? You think I'm wrong? Okay. Start your own show and talk about what you want to talk about. I'll talk about what I want to talk about. I think Bill Burr has made an absolutely horrific mistake because he didn't make it about policy. He made it personal. You don't know how to play the game, Hal. You don't understand what I'm trying to do here. And it's okay because you're more ideological than you are open. Do you think I care what Bill Burr thinks about what Elon Musk looks like? What is he doing? He's funnier than that. He's more competent than that. Go be more funnier, more competent. I've laughed at your stuff for years. Don't be a dope. I'll explain. I'll get into it. I promise. But Hal, you have no say on the show, man. And your comments are all the same without even like engaging in a way that like makes one want to respond. You're now on the place of, dear Lord, we should just move you out altogether. Because what are you offering? You got to offer something, man. You ain't offering, boo. Just not doing it. If you didn't see Hal's comment here, it's here. It was that. Bill Burr is funny. And I think Bill Burr, the comic, has great observations. And Bill Burr was just all sorts of wrong. He engaged in an argument about Elon Musk, but it wasn't about policy. It wasn't even about something he did. And it really, he's trying to excoriate the left. But this isn't the way to do it. So I will break it down. I mean, if you want to go personal, you're going to lose every time. We haven't figured this out. Well, Trump can go personal. That's your answer? You try it. Let's see how that works out. I will explain Bill Burr. White House press briefing. So much is coming up. Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today. Guys, here's what we got. Oh, look at that. You could actually see it. You could see that's my earpiece right there. Can I tell you, like, I do the whole show. I don't know why this is. The show is at an angle. Like this is like, I'm not, I don't know what it is. Super weird. I'm like not straight. I don't know why that is. Anyway, we have got a lot to get to. We're going to take the break right now. The radio show is in break. So smoke them if you got them. And I actually do have them. And then we'll be back. We'll get to the press briefing. We'll talk the Bill Burr story. The cyber attack that took place on the Twittix yesterday. That was Dark Storm. Dark Storm. God, I hope we find these guys. I have got all of that. Follow me on the Twittix there at Tony Katz. I would appreciate it if you would right there. Follow me at Tony Katz. And don't forget that coming up April 17th, Trump and American Reset in 3 bourbons, an intense and hilarious recap of Trump's first 100 days. It's going to be amazing. The bourbon, the cigars, the food, the laughs. It's going to be fantastic. And you can get your tickets, tickets.tonykatz.com, tickets.tonykatz.com. Trump and American Reset in 3 bourbons, April 17th, tickets.tonykatz.com. I hope to see you there. Going to be a fantastic time. Stay here, guys. We will be back to the show in just a few. Guys, welcome back. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Sarah, one other thing. We need to create some new stuff there for the breaks. Yeah, we're due. We're doing this now so regularly, right? It was never the plan, but now it's like it's what we do. Now it's what we do. So we need some new stuff there. So the briefing, they're getting ready for that right there. Getting ready for the briefing. This is what it looks like right there in the White House briefing room. I don't know. Can you hear anything in there? Do I have the volume on? Nothing yet. Yeah, nothing yet. They were just doing their stand-ups. Peter Ducey from Fox was doing his, and I forget her name from NBC was doing hers. And when not cringe, oh God. Oh, that's just terrible, Tony. How dare you? Caroline Levitt, I apologize. That was wrong. I was wrong, and I apologize. Caroline Levitt will come out and give that briefing, bring that to you. And as I said, we will also discuss Bill Burr and the cyber attack on X. The markets right now still down 645 on the Dow, 144 on the NASDAQ. Because Trump has increased the tariffs to Canada. So we're going to come back to the show. I'm glad you guys are here, as I said, smoking the La Creme right there. Come on, do it. There it is from the good people at Crowned Heads. And we will do a radio show. White House press briefing scheduled to begin. I'll have that in full for you when it happens. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Of course, one of the big conversations is going to be tariffs. Trump raising Canadian steel and aluminum tariffs to 50%. Why? Because Ontario was putting a tariff on electricity exports to the United States, to which Trump is saying, we get electricity from Canada? What the bloody heck is wrong with us? We get electricity from Canada? Are we all insane? Maybe. And once again, Trump has said Canada should become the 51st state. I don't know who that one is for. There's no Canadian interested. Even the Canadian conservatives I know, people I know running for parliament, which I know, they're not interested in this. They're interested in being Canada. Thank you very much. I don't know if it's getting under their skin as much as it is galvanizing them to the idea of, all right, this is going to be a fight. We'll be in for a fight. They don't think that something great is coming out of this. But response for response leads to people saying, oh, holy heck. Even though I know where Trump is in the entirety of the tariff conversation, the long game he is playing, or at least I think I'm well placing together. This ain't making anybody happy. Based on Ontario, Canada, placing a 25% tariff on electricity coming into the United States, I have instructed my Secretary of Commerce to add an additional 25% tariff to 50% on all steel and aluminum coming into the United States from Canada, one of the highest tariffing nations anywhere in the world. He continued, this will go into effect on March 12th. And it has sent markets just into a bad place. It is not making anybody in the market happy at all. I can understand such a thing. How could it? The question is, what's the win here? What will be the overall win? That somehow a price is going to come down? Well, this isn't about price coming down. This is about you want Canada to purchase more and get that trade imbalance into a proper place. You want them to do something about fentanyl. Well, is it about both things, or one thing or the other thing? Now it's about you tariffed us, so we'll tariff you. And then I assume from this, you'll see yet another tariff. It goes on and on and on and on. As I said, I'm not a fan of any of this. Even though I understand the methodology, I think I've well explained the methodology. I'm here to tell you, still not a fan. Not a fan of the governor of Oregon. With this butte right here, according to Libs of TikTok, the governor of Oregon has declared, I guess this was yesterday, was Abortion Provider Appreciation Day. Oh my gosh, there's an actual thing. There's an actual thing here. Governor Kotek, Tina Kotek, declares March 10th Abortion Provider Appreciation Day. Tell me these people, these progressives, aren't going to win election again without telling me they're not going to win election again. It's the celebration that people cannot handle. If you were in favor of legalized abortion and you gave a quasi-intellectual answer to it, there'll be people who are pro-life who will never agree with you, and most people will be like, I agree to disagree, right? That would be it. When you sing your abortion, when you're proud of your abortions, when you're like, oh my gosh, I can't have enough abortions. I can't get enough abortions. And for the left, please don't tell us that doesn't happen. Of course it happens. And it's super weird. And the governor of Oregon just did it. It's a turnoff. It's not a winner nationwide. 2022 worked out pretty well for you. Midterms, no red wave. 2024 did not. And 2026 right now is not looking better. Mistake on mistake on mistake. We will wait for the press briefing. I'm very curious what kind of questions Caroline Levitt is going to be asked. And this could be the first briefing with real push, especially on this economic conversation. We will have it all. Keep it here. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Guys, welcome back. Tony Katz. The show is called Tony Katz Today. I had somebody on the Twittix. Where was it? There isn't a strategy to what Trump is doing. Trying to explain makes you look foolish. Well, I'm sure, whatever you say. I literally said I don't like tariffs. But it's very clear that he does have a long-term thought process. We can agree or disagree with it. But I think I've discerned that pretty dang well. Meanwhile, on The View, ridiculous View things are happening. Embarrassing, shameful View things are happening. Oh, you're going to love this. You are just going to love this to death. Oh, precious as the day is long. I think that's all right. I think I can show that. There we go. Wait till you see this. I cannot let you, I won't let you down. I refuse. I've got it right now. The show's coming back on. We will play it. You'll decide. Press briefing is going to start any moment. I've got that as well. So we got it all. We're like trained professionals here. Trained at what? I have no idea.
Right. I think there's a feeling in the country, and I often say this, we're about to turn 250 years old, right? We're still pretty young for a country. These are our like our angry teenage years, right? We are going through this push and pull where we're happy, we're sad, we want this, we want that. And what do you do when you have a teenager who's threatening themselves and others? You just try to get them through this period alive so that their brain can fully form and you can come back to kind of what a country.
Yeah, you're talking about Trump. You're talking about people who supported Trump. That's what you're talking about. Tony Katz today. So good to be with you. White House press briefing has begun. Caroline Levitt is there in the briefing room.
Technology
Let's take it to her.
Council here at the White House, where he met with key leaders in the technology industry. And last night, President Trump also held an official swearing-in ceremony in the Oval Office for Sean Curran, who is now the 28th director of the United States Secret Service. Sean demonstrated unbelievable bravery under gunfire in Butler, Pennsylvania this past July when an assassin tried to kill President Trump. As someone who got to know Sean personally throughout the campaign last year, I can say unequivocally that there is nobody better suited for this important role. And following the confirmation of Labor Secretary Lori Chavez DeRomer last night, the Senate has now confirmed 21 of President Trump's well-qualified cabinet-level nominees, far outpacing the previous administration.
She should not have been confirmed. She isn't well qualified. I'm just sorry. All the disagreement in the world. This is somebody who is very pro-union, and I only had wished Republicans would have pushed back on this one. This was a mistake. But what else is Caroline Levitt going to say here?
February's jobs report was good news for America, particularly our manufacturing sector. The manufacturing sector gained 10,000 new jobs in just 1 month under President Trump. This rebound was led by the automobile sector, where we saw 9,000 new auto jobs created already. That is the most auto jobs added to the economy in 15 months. This was a complete turnaround from the Biden administration, where we were losing an average of 9,000 manufacturing jobs per month last year. Reuters is out with a report that a number of companies are now looking at expanding their presence or bringing their businesses into America because of President Trump's policies. And just moments ago, before coming out here, I saw another report by Reuters revealing that Merck has opened a $1 billion facility at its North Carolina site. This is just the latest pharmaceutical company to boost its U.S. manufacturing in lieu of President Trump's tariffs. This announcement follows Eli Lilly's plans to invest at least $27 billion to build 4 new manufacturing plants here in the United States, And Pfizer has also said it's considering moving their manufacturing overseas right here to the United States of America. As the president has said over and over again, when we purchase products made in the USA, the profits stay here, the revenue stays here, and most importantly, the jobs stay here. And despite the globalist mainstream media's attempts to worry consumers, President Trump will not repeat the trend of past American presidents who broke their promises to the American public and smiled while they stuck a knife in the back of American workers and shipped their jobs overseas. Our country has lost more than 5 million jobs in more than 90,000 factories due to devastating globalization over the last 3 decades alone. North Carolina lost 300,000 manufacturing jobs, including 60% of its furniture manufacturing jobs in the years following NAFTA. And in Michigan, globalist policies destroyed 250,000 jobs, including 40% of the auto industry, which again, we know is clawing back because of President Trump's action already. These are harrowing statistics that represent countless towns and families who have been completely destroyed. But the America Last globalist era is ending under President Trump. He will no longer allow our country and our workers, our hardworking American families, to be ripped off. On another very important issue for the president, he continues to work hard to secure the border. If you missed it yesterday, CBP launched an enhanced home mobile app with a new feature, the Intent to Depart, which offers unlawfully present aliens or those aliens whose parole has been revoked an orderly and defined process to notify the U.S. government of their intent to depart the country.
Now, if you didn't know about this, what the Trump administration did is they took the CBP One app that the Biden administration had utilized to say, hey, schedule a time to come into the country. Maybe a judge will get to you, maybe not. But if not, don't worry. Hang out for like 2, 3, 4, 5 years. It's cool. It's cool. It's totally fine. Not a biggie. You're more than welcome to do it. And they have reworked it into this app that says, hey, want to leave? Here's an app to make it all super easy. One click and bye-bye. And we'll even wave to you as you leave. That's what Caroline Levitt is referring to.
Continue to carry out the largest deportation campaign in American history. And that is why the president fully endorses the continuing resolution that is before Congress and was negotiated by Speaker Johnson. He is encouraging all Republicans to vote yes on this clean CR, which freezes funding at current levels and will prevent the Democrats from getting their long-awaited government shutdown. Voting against this CR will hurt the American people and kill the incredible momentum that President Trump has built over the past 51 days. And lastly, before I take questions, I would like to commend the Washington Post, who I believe is in the room today. According to a new report from Axios, the Washington Post is overhauling their newsroom structure. It appears that the mainstream media, including the Post, is finally learning that having disdain for more than half of the country who supports this president does not help you sell newspapers. It's not a very good business model. And that's why we have people in our new media seat. And today we have Sargar Anetti, who is the host of Breaking Points, a popular political YouTube news and podcast show that has racked up nearly 1 billion views on YouTube, several hundred million podcast downloads since its launch in June 2021. He's also a 4 billion views on YouTube, several hundred million
that
podcast
repeated
downloads
from the
since
feed.
its launch in June 2021. He's also a former member of the White House Correspondents Association, but is now a part of the thriving independent media. We're very happy to have you with us here today. Why don't you kick off our briefing? Thank you.
Really appreciate you having me, Caroline. A couple of questions for you, if I may. First on the stock market. So currently it's the 25th anniversary today of the dot-com bubble crash. There's a lot of concern for a lot of Americans right now about the state of the economy. President Trump has refused to rule out a recession. Secretary Lutnick, however, has told us there will not be one. So can the White House just tell and assure Americans today that there's not going to be a recession?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. So let me start by saying that, first of all, when it comes to the stock market, the numbers that we see today, the numbers we saw yesterday, the numbers we'll see tomorrow are a snapshot of a moment in time. And as President Trump has said, and I'm here to echo the remarks of this president of this White House, we are in a period of economic transition. We are in a period of transition from the mess that was created under Joe Biden in the previous administration. Joe Biden left this country in an economic disaster. Several statistics to point out. The delinquency rate on credit card loans increased 63% under Joe Biden, hitting a near 12-year high. Under Joe Biden, all net job growth went to foreign-born Americans. Real wages declined by 1.5% under Joe Biden. And as we all know, and this administration continues to combat, prices soared more than 20% under Joe Biden because of his reckless spending and economic policies. So we are in a period of transition from that economic nightmare under a president who had no idea what he was doing, never held a private sector job in his life, into a golden age of American manufacturing under a businessman and a deal maker in chief in President Donald J. Trump, who is implementing the formula that we know works. Look at President Trump's results in his first term. If people are looking for certainty, they should look at the record of this president. That's why the American people reelected him back to this office. And look at everything that President Trump has already done and his team has already done in just 51 days. The massive efforts to deregulate, tax cuts, which we need Congress to pass the Trump economic agenda, the Trump tax cuts, which will unleash economic growth. And the president also addressed this directly, I will point out as well, when you look at what he said on Air Force One. And he said he wants the American people to have so much money in their pockets, they don't even know what to do with it. That's the intent of this administration. And we're working very hard every day on that.
Exactly what we said they needed to do. I just wish they had done this 2.5, 3 weeks ago, right there from the beginning. They're calling it a period of transition, which I think is a very smart way just to state it. It's going to be bumpy, like they were saying with the farmers. This was it. They listened to the show, guys. They listened to the show. We had it from the beginning, from the very beginning. You got to explain what's happening. You got to give people something they can connect with and say, okay, we're in on this, and here's what we're going to get out of it. Here's the result. Good. This is, I would argue, a couple weeks too late. Right? I just think they should have gotten to it earlier, but they're finally hitting it, I think, at least in the right place. How is it going to be received? Well, who cares how it's received by MSNBC? How is it received by America? That's going to be the question.
Charge a green card holder with a crime to be eligible for deportation?
Well, in fact, Secretary Rubio reserves the right to revoke the visa of Mahmoud Khalil. And I'm glad you brought this up. Under the Immigration and Nationality Act, the Secretary of State has the right to revoke a green card or a visa for individuals who serve or are adversarial to the foreign policy and national security interests of the United States of America. And Mahmoud Khalil was an individual who was given the privilege of coming to this country to study at one of our nation's finest universities and colleges. And he took advantage of that opportunity, of that privilege, by siding with terrorists, Hamas terrorists who have killed innocent men, women, and children. This is an individual who organized group protests that not only disrupted college campus classes and harassed Jewish American students and made them feel unsafe on their own college campus, but also distributed pro-Hamas propaganda, flyers with the logo of Hamas. That is what the behavior and activity that this individual engaged in. And I have those flyers on my desk. They were provided to me by the Department of Homeland Security. I thought about bringing them into this briefing room to share with all of you, but I didn't think it was worth the dignity of this room to bring that pro-Hamas propaganda. But that's what this individual distributed on the campus of Columbia University. And this administration is not going to tolerate individuals having the privilege of studying in our country and then siding with pro-terrorist organizations that have killed Americans. We have a zero tolerance policy for siding with terrorists, period. Peter Ducey.
Thank you, Caroline. So you said that the Dow dropping and dropping and dropping is a period of transition. You're sure nobody here at the White House shorted the Dow?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. But is there any concern here that it's going to be harder to ask certain federal workers to retire if they look at their retirement accounts and they're getting robbed every day?
Well, I'm glad you brought up workers, because that's exactly who President Trump is looking out for with his America First trade policy and his America First economic agenda.
But the question was about 401ks. And yes, you're going to look at them right now and be like, this is ugly. Funny. We said that days ago. As for Levitt's answer on this guy and the deportation, I think that's how a lot of Trump supporters feel. I'm Tony Katz. Guys, a quick break, and then we'll actually no. Let's continue. Let's continue. Hold on here.
Did he buy it? And when is the last time he drove a car?
That's a very good question. I have heard the president remark that he misses being able to drive, that luxury of driving his own vehicle, although the beast is nice, but he is going to be viewing a Tesla that is making its way to the White House complex. Now, I can confirm. Perhaps the press pool today will have an opportunity to witness this very exciting moment later this afternoon. But a Tesla is on its way here now, and we'll see if the president likes it when he checks it out.
So they're bringing him a Tesla to look at, and if he likes it, he's just going to buy it.
You know, he's definitely going to buy one, but he'll take a look at it when it gets here later this afternoon.
Full retail?
Yes, full market price. Kelly.
Can we talk about Canada? What is the status of President Trump having a conversation with Mark Carney? We have seen the president use the term governor to refer to Justin Trudeau. Will that moniker also go to Mr. Carney going forward? And is the decision to increase the tariffs, is that based on a specific economic metric that he looked at? Is it impulse? How would you describe his reaction to Canada?
The president has not yet spoken to Mr. Carney, not since I checked, which was just moments ago. But certainly his phone is always open to leaders who wish to speak with him. As for the tariffs, the president made his position on this quite clear with the statement that he put out. And it was a retaliatory statement due to the escalation of rhetoric that we've seen out of Ontario, Canada. The president saw the premier, Doug Ford, make an egregious and insulting comment threatening to shut down electricity for the American people, for hardworking American families. He made that threat. The president saw that and has an obligation and a responsibility to respond accordingly. And represent the interests of the American people. So he has made the decision to add a 25% tariff. So now steel and aluminum tariffs will come into effect tomorrow at the rate of 50%. And our steel and aluminum industries have actually applauded these tariffs because, again, they know it's going to grow their industry here. It's going to allow them to export more steel that is made right here in the United States with American workers.
That's manufacturers.
Your words
Different
here,
than
but that's what
people.
many Canadian leaders have said about
I
the
get the
actions
manufacturers.
President Trump has taken toward Canada. And what do you think the timeline is for speaking to Mr. Carney? Because normally a sitting president speaks to a close ally very quickly when there's new leadership.
Well, the president is, again, responding to the fact that Canada has been ripping off the United States of America and hardworking Americans for decades. If you look at the rates of tariffs across the board that Canadians have been imposing on the American people and our workers here, it is egregious. In fact, I have a handy dandy chart here that shows not just Canada, but the rate of tariffs across the board. If you look at Canada, since you brought it up, American cheese and butter, nearly 300% tariff. You look at India, 150% tariff on American alcohol. You think that's helping Kentucky bourbon be exported into India? I don't think so. 100% tariff on agricultural products from India. Look at Japan, tariffing rice, 700%. President Trump believes in reciprocity, and it is about dang time that we have a president who actually looks out for the interests of American businesses and workers. And all he's asking for at the end of the day are fair and balanced trade practices. And unfortunately, Canada has not been treating us very fairly at all over the past several decades.
But if you're going to make that conversation, you can't then make it about fentanyl. You have to make it about the trade. That's all I would say there. That's where the conversation gets a little bit muddled. And reciprocity, reciprocal tariffs, fine. This is different. And that's a hit that the White House just has to be able to take and push through. Let's go there, producer Landon.
Mass propaganda. The flyers that have been distributed call for violence. The flyers that have been distributed have the logo of an organization that has held Americans hostage. that murdered innocent babies, that murdered men, women, and children. They are a designated foreign terrorist organization, and we are not going to tolerate non-citizens, foreigners who come here on a visa engaging in such behavior, siding with terrorists. And the Secretary of State reserves the authority to revoke the green card or the visa of an individual who serves as an actually, it says right here, reasonable grounds to believe that the alien's presence or activities in the United States would have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences to the United States.
Caroline Leavitt and the White House are going to win with that argument with the vast majority of the Americans, of the American people. It just is going to win that argument. Tony Katz today, Caroline Leavitt, White House press secretary, involved right now doing the White House press briefing, answering the questions about this Columbia student and the arrest and the possible deportation. I'm going to have more on this with William Jacobson, Cornell law professor, coming up in a little bit, but I want to hear a little bit more of the press conference. Questions about tariffs, questions about this possible deportation. But that argument is the winning one. And the left doesn't have it. They can ask the legal question. Can you deport a lawful permanent resident on these grounds? But the idea of not saying that just because you come to the country means you can work to subvert the country? No. Supporting a terrorist organization? We don't allow that. We don't do that here. That argument works.
Reaction. How do you sell to the American people then, after looking at what's happening in the markets this week, and say that the tariff policy long term is something good?
Well, just think about what the tariff policy long-term will do for our country. I think many of us probably grew up in small towns. I know at least I did. And the main street in my small town looks a heck of a lot worse than it probably did decades ago before I was alive. At least my parents and grandparents tell me so. And I know many Americans feel that same way. What the president envisions for this country is for the United States of America to be a manufacturing superpower, where there are American factories and businesses owned by Americans, producing goods that we are exporting to the rest of the world. Those revenues will stay here. It will increase wages for people here in our great country. It will ensure our national security, and it will boost the morale of the American people to have thriving industries again. Think about Detroit, Michigan. Think about North Carolina, as I mentioned, that used to have a thriving furniture industry that no longer exists because of the globalist trade policies of previous and past administrations. And the American people gave the president a tremendous opportunity to restore American greatness and restore our manufacturing dominance. And he's intent on doing just that. John.
Thanks, Caroline. 2 questions for you.
I just want to say, we said this. We've been saying this for the last couple of days. We took Trump's statements and we said, okay, I think this is where he's going. It's where he's going. It's where he's going. Is it now? Will it work with America? Will this sell? Will they take it? Are there buyers? That's an interesting question. But in the idea of what is Trump trying to do, don't get me wrong, the tariffs on Canada and the 50% on steel and aluminum, this is all tit for tat stuff. The basic concept, drive manufacturing to the United States. That's exactly what we said yesterday, exactly what we said today. And now here's Caroline Leavitt, finally the White House saying these things that we pieced together before anybody. It's not that we're smarter. It's that we pay attention more. It's that we listen more, and that we objectively look at the things that are happening. That's how we figured it out before the White House even said it. And we had it right.
They do not have confidence in what the president said to Fox News over the weekend, that he didn't rule out the idea of a recession. What is your read in terms of the decline that we've seen over the last week and a half in financial markets?
Well, I think there's actually a lot of reason to be confident, and many people do feel confident. Just look at the nearly $2 trillion in private investment that this president has secured. Look at the comments made by the CEO of Apple, one of the biggest companies in this world, who said that he is bullish on the future of American innovation under the leadership of President Trump. Look at CEO confidence. According to the Conference Board measure of CEO confidence in Q1 2025, under the leadership of this president, it jumped to its highest level in 3 years, from cautious optimism to confident optimism. If you, again, look at the $2 trillion in investments from some of the biggest companies in the world, look at the jobs report last Friday, as I also cited in my opening remarks. Fox Business reported that Trump sees a manufacturing boom in first full jobs report of his second term. Look at the auto jobs that have already poured back into America. We added 9,000 new auto jobs. Those are sticky jobs. Those are good paying jobs. That's 9,000 American families who will now be able to live the American dream because of the policies of this administration. You also look at small business optimism. The NFIB put out a report this morning. Small business optimism continues to be far higher than it ever was under the previous administration. There's a lot of reason to be optimistic. And again, the American people, CEOs and people on Wall Street and on Main Street should bet on this president. He is a deal maker. He is a businessman, and he's doing what's right for our country. He wants to restore wealth to the United States of America. Michael, good to see you.
Hey, Carolyn, thank you. 2 questions, if I may. Will the administration be providing any relief to states affected by the Ontario power tariff?
Well, the president has made it very clear that Canada would be very wise not to shut off electricity for the American people. And we hope that that does not happen. As for what would happen if that does take place, I'll leave it to the president to make those decisions.
Does President Trump share the Justice Department's concern over rising egg prices and possible collusion of big egg?
Well, we definitely do share the concerns of the American people when it comes to the price of eggs. However, good news, the average cost of a dozen eggs is actually down since Secretary Rollins and President Trump announced their plan. It's down $1.85. So that's good news on the cost of eggs. And as we know, under the Biden administration, egg prices went up 22%. This is another example of an economic mess that President Trump inherited, and the Secretary of Agriculture and the president are focused on fixing. Put out a 4-point plan rather, to address this crisis. And she has been honest and realistic with the American people, as this administration always is. It will take about 3 to 6 months to get the egg supply back to where it should be, but she's focused, and this administration is focused on doing that every day.
Big egg. Oh, I like big egg. Big egg. That's a good one. Okay, you're about to see every surrogate of this administration hit cable news, hit the Sunday shows, all with this story. Manufacturing's coming back, prices are coming down. Yes, it's going to be bumpy. This is a time of transition, and here's what the result's going to be. That's what this press conference is. This press conference is the launching of the strategy and getting everybody out there on the same page. This is what's happening. You can bet your bottom dollar that the talking points are out, doing exactly what they're supposed to do on this one. Now, the question now is, this is what they're selling. Does America buy? No, MSNBC won't buy, so I don't care what happens there or CNN. Can't. The question is, what will America buy? And the answer is, really, how much are they willing to wait? How long? If prices are down in eggs and prices down on gas, they'll say, okay, show me more. Show them more. They'll be like, all right, that's over. Like the rise of prices during COVID. Okay, that's over. Although it didn't really end beautifully. Speed will matter here. Speed will matter here. And then the White House will be able to say, Trump is a man of his word, did exactly what he said he would do. 100% did what he said he would do. Took what Biden gave him and made it better. This is the purpose of this press conference right here. More to get to. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Welcome back, Tony Katz. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Good to be able to do the show. I appreciate you guys being here very, very much. We'll be back to the show in a minute. The press briefing will continue, but we're going to get into some other subjects, including what happened with X yesterday, and this cyber attack, which was massive, and I would have no reason to think that it's over, that it won't happen again. Excuse me. Who this group is and what they're about and what they've done in the past. I've got it all for you. It's coming up in just a few seconds as we come back to the radio show. It was a massive cyber attack on X, Twitter. And according to Elon Musk, who owns X, it appears to have come from the Ukraine area. Does that mean it was Ukraine? I have no idea. Was it the Russians? I have no idea. Was it China? I have no idea. I have no idea. This is what he is saying, saying that the IP addresses were originating in the Ukraine area. Tony Katz today. So good to be with you. Find everything over at TonyKatz.com. The group that's taking credit for this is saying that they would do it again. Absolutely, that they would do it again. This is, is this retribution? Is this they don't like what's happening in America? What they really don't like is America as a whole. They've been known to do these things in the past. The name of the group, Dark Storm. Dark Storm. That's just, that is precious. Dark Storm, claiming responsibility, emerged as a pro-Palestinian hacktivist collective. So Hamas supporters. So the Hamas supporters, the terrorist supporters, the people who want to put an end to Western civilization, they're now utilizing a technological skill to keep you from being able to speak. I ask you now, who are the fascists? You shouldn't be allowed to talk. You shouldn't be allowed to speak freely. You shouldn't be able to share ideas. You shouldn't be able to utilize the technology. Only they, because they're better at coding, they can use technology and you can't. And they, like every bully out there, will use the strength that they have to try and intimidate, harm, and attack others who are weaker. We're not all coders. We're not. But that's who they are. They're not good. They're not good. They are bullies in one respect, terrorists in another respect, preventing people from engaging, trying to destroy business. And I only hope that they're found and they're arrested. That, I mean, there is not a hole deep enough or dark enough to put them in. If we're going to have a conversation about fascism, it's always a conversation about fascism. Somebody had posted the other day that for the political left, Hitler is the only political figure that ever existed, right? It's the only historical figure left. Nothing else in history happened. It's all Hitler. I thought it was a solid observation. You can hate Elon Musk all you want. Bill Burr, it seems, the comic, hates Elon Musk. And he was on NPR. And this was him.
And who's the they? Besides the people who eat almonds?
That idiot Elon Musk.
Oh.
That guy, like he's going to, like, who evidently is a Nazi. Like, I just refuse to believe that it was an accidental 2-time Sieg Heil. And he does it at a presidential inauguration. This is why I hate liberals. It's like liberals have no teeth whatsoever. They just go, oh my God, can you believe I'm getting out of the country? I'm just like, you're going to leave the country because of one guy with dyed hair plugs and a laminated face who makes a bad car and has an obsolete social media platform? You're going to leave this. Why doesn't he leave? Why isn't he stopped? What are we so afraid of this guy who can't fight his way out of a wet paper bag?
What are you doing, Bill? You're funnier than this. You're going to make fun of his hair? You're going to say that the platform is obsolete? If that was the case, what would you care about the platform? You understand your argument makes no sense whatsoever, right? You're Bill Burr. You are the top comic. You're in the top 5 right now in the world. Hair plugs? Obsolete? Why doesn't he leave? This is your argument? Throw him out of the country? Elon Musk has to be thrown out of the country, but the guy supporting Hamas, who's keeping Jews from crossing Columbia University, he gets to stay? He's some kind of hero? Dear Lord, Burr. Now, if you want to argue that the left has no teeth, you go right ahead. Why does the left not fight back? Why don't they do this? Why don't they do that? You can do that. Makes sense. We might agree or disagree. But God, you're funnier than this. Did you just, I don't know, did you just feel compelled because you got some friends who are like, Elon Musk is so bad. You should make more fun of Elon Musk. We'd like you more if you made fun of Elon Musk. Go make fun of Elon Musk. Well, he's got hair plugs. That's really funny, Bill. You should say that on NPR. My God, you need a better focus group. Cheap because it isn't policy and it isn't funny. It's 0 for 2. Disappointed. Disappointed. You never want to see the comic miss, and miss so brutally. I think that's the word I'm looking for. Brutally. Much more to get to. Find everything at TonyKatz.com and get the podcast. This is Tony Katz Today. Guys, I appreciate you. I'm glad that you were here. Gotta bounce. Gotta go do. Really disappointed in Burr. Hugely disappointed. Because it's just not funny. He could be funny. You could be funny. He is funny. And just not here. Do not forget to join me April 17th. Trump and American Reset in 3 bourbons. Go to tickets.tonykatz.com. Tickets.tonykatz.com. Get your tickets immediately. It's going to be a great night with bourbon, cigars, food, so many cool things happening. Trump and American Reset, an intense and hilarious recap of Trump's first 100 days. Tickets.tonykatz.com. You want to be there and you want to check that out. Make sure you follow and like and subscribe in all the places. Can't thank you guys enough for being here. I'll catch you tomorrow. Take care.